is NJN News with Kent Manahan, Steve Highsmith, and Jerry Henry with sports.
Good evening. Kent has the night off. Unemployment's down, but few experts are breaking out the party hats. The federal government today says U.S. unemployment fell slightly in January, about 0.2 of a point, and that more jobs were created. However, not as many as needed to give the recovery a good goose. New Jersey's unemployment rate improved significantly last month, but as Trish DeGasperis reports, the numbers don't tell the whole story.
There are about 350,000 people in New Jersey who are unemployed. And according to government figures, that number is slowly but steadily declining. The latest numbers indicate that New Jersey's unemployment rate dropped nearly a full percentage point from 8.3 to 7.4% in January.
It means that there's a beginning, at least, of consumer confidence, that we're beginning to see some economic health emerging, because we were at a top rate of 9.6 back in July, and we're down now to 7.4. That's positive.
But confusing the issue is the fact that thousands of workers have apparently dropped out of the labor market, giving up their search for a new job.
People have lost heart in terms of reporting to their unemployment insurance office, going through the job service, and presenting themselves for normal jobs. What happens is that this may also point to a continuing growth in the underground economy, where people work for cash and are out of the safety net, and this is a deplorable state, and that's why the economy must grow in order for us to have a kind of a quality of life that we need.
In fact, the numbers show fewer people held jobs last month in New Jersey, even though the unemployment figure was down.
But the real issue, says Bramucci, is will the recovery lead to an increase in good jobs? Of course, that's the question that everyone is asking.
The news we see today is good news, in that it is a downward trend, pretty consistent. That's always good news. But there are some elements that have yet to be decided. Is there a vigorous growth yet, and can we count on the development of good jobs?
Most people that we spoke with on the unemployment line today said they were hopeful, not just for the nation, but for themselves.
I see hope for it, yeah. Being as though we got a new president, hopefully. I see hope.
Trish DeGasperis, NJN News, Newark.
Word today that more jobs will be lost. It's official. The New Jersey National Guard is shrinking. Ken St. John reports on the cuts ordered in the post-Cold War world.
Half of the National Guard cuts will take place at Fort Dix, Burlington County, where the base will lose the 50th Armored Division, the largest element of the New Jersey National Guard. The 104th Engineer Battalion and TNEC will also be disbanded, with cuts there and at 6 other units, resulting in the loss of more than 1,200 part and full-time Guard personnel.
The most visible loss will be our engineers and our military police, which are important during disasters or civil disturbances.
Morgano says that he will try and minimize the hardship that the reduction will have on the troops.
We will have 1 year from 1 September 1993 to retain the affected soldiers into existing units. We will do everything possible to find positions for many of our displaced soldiers.
It's going to be a disruption in a lot of family lives because these people will have to possibly go away to a school.
We're losing the headquarters, and that is a blow, but we're going to maintain the 50th Brigade, and so we'll just simply adapt and press on.
The Guard responds to emergencies like the nor'easter that struck in December. Morgano says the Guard will be able to respond should another storm hit, but with less equipment.
We will be able to respond with our trucks, which we have now, which are in other units. But as far as the engineer-type equipment, the bulldozers, the boats, and things like that, we will not have that capability.
Nationally, some 18,000 Guardsmen will be cut. General Morgano says that the Northeast took the biggest hit, with New Jersey losing 40% of its force in the past 4 years. But he says while the Guard New Jersey is getting smaller, they will also be getting better.
We will now take what we have left and better train them, because we have less people, to make the best unit possible. You know, I'm a soldier. We fought it. We lost. I now stand up, salute. My staff stands up and salutes, and we will make the best of what we have.
Ken St. John, NJN News, Fort Dix, Burlington County.
Cumberland County is becoming the prison capital of New Jersey, but you won't hear many complaints. State officials today announced a $200 million corrections facility will be built in Bridgeton. And as Margie Smith reports, for many county residents, a new prison means new jobs.
Cumberland County already has 2 state prisons and a federal prison. Today, state officials announced prison number 4, a 2,000-bed medium-security facility to be built on this tract of land in Bridgeton. It will be the largest state prison, and while it won't be big enough for all the 3,000 state inmates currently housed in county jails, corrections officials say it will help a lot.
Most of the counties are willing to contract with us to hold a set number of inmates, and they don't object to that. I mean, they may agree to hold 100, but they don't want 800, that type of thing. So what we have to do is get to a comfort zone with each county.
Today's announcement is really a twofer. It's a twofer in the sense that we're dealing with law enforcement, which is very, very important. We're also dealing with economics.
Cumberland County has the highest unemployment rate in the state. Bridgeton lobbied hard for this prison because to the city it means one thing: jobs. 1,000 jobs to be exact, plus 3,000 more spin-off jobs. With those figures, you're hard-pressed to find anyone in Bridgeton crying, "Not in my backyard."
It's okay with me. It should help employment.
Would you take a job in the prison?
Yeah, I would. If I could get one.
People realize that prisons do not have the stigma that they used to have. They're building them in almost a collegiate format, like a campus, a college campus, and this is a medium security prison, and jobs have the #1 priority right now in this region.
One county official says you can't ask for a better employer than a prison. The pay's good. Corrections officers start at $30,000, and unlike factories, prisons rarely close, so job security is excellent. The state will begin building the prison in August or September. It should be ready for the first inmates in the fall of 1994. Margie Smith, NJN News, Bridgeton.
An employee party in December has given New Jersey Transit a political and public relations hangover. NJT is under fire for spending taxpayers' money on a wingding in East Brunswick. The bill came to nearly $38,000. Employees paid a chunk of that tab, but taxpayers wound up paying $23,000 of it. NJT Executive Director Shirley DeLibero today defended the party. She says management employees haven't gotten raises and are paying part of their own health insurance, and that NJT is on or under budget while increasing ridership.
I believe that if the taxpayers really look honestly at how we're running this agency, and we're not spending money foolishly, it's not for liquor or alcohol, it's just to show the people once a year that they're appreciated, I think even the taxpayers would agree.
There were alcoholic beverages at the party, but it was a cash bar. A rail union leader who did not go to the blast says the celebration was an example of NJT's inability to distinguish its need from its greed. The go-ahead could be given soon to a plan to dredge dioxin-tainted soil from Newark Bay and dump the spoils off the Jersey shore. Marie DeNoia reports 3 New Jersey congressmen today met with federal environmental officials who so far have held up the dredging.
Together, Congressmen Bob Menendez, Bob Torricelli, and Bob Franks made the strongest presentation to date to urge the EPA to lift the suspension it's placed on the federal dredging permit for ports Newark and Elizabeth.
I personally believe the permit will be issued. I think that our message was fully communicated.
They first listened to members of the maritime industry most directly affected by the delay.
I, for one, represented 1,000 tugboats not too many years ago in this harbor. 3,000 men. Today I represent 1 tugboat with 7 men.
The failure to issue this permit today constitutes an economic emergency for New Jersey.
The Port Authority has been waiting 3 years for permission to dredge the silt from these channels. The silt, which is laced with dioxin, would be dumped at a spoil site in the ocean off Sandy Hook. Officials say at this point, the silt has built up to such a point that cargo ships are scraping bottom, forcing them to take their business to other ports, endangering a $19 billion industry that supports some 180,000 jobs. The situation also, in some cases, causes the ships to risk dangerous cargo spills.
The failure of the Environmental Protection Agency to issue this permit is causing ships to unload their cargo in dangerous waters.
The EPA has said the only thing holding up the permit is a discrepancy over the volume of silt to be dredged. But environmentalists have lobbied hard against the dredging, because they say the dioxin in the silt will contaminate the food chain and devastate the commercial and recreational fishing industries.
This is not a jobs versus environment situation. That is not the way it should be seen. And the questions that were raised and answered was in the context of a reconciliation of both.
This evening, the congressmen leave this meeting with a promise from the EPA that there will be a decision one way or the other next week. However, the congressmen say if that decision is not favorable to the dredging project, they're prepared to take it straight to President Clinton. Marie DeNoia, NJN News, Port Newark.
In other news tonight, a judge in Trenton has set bail at $250,000 cash for suspected serial rapist Ambrose Harris. Trenton man was arraigned on 35 charges in connection with 3 rapes and 1 armed robbery between September and December of last year. He is also the prime suspect in the disappearance of Kristen Huggins, the Bucks County woman last seen when she left for work in Trenton about 7 weeks ago. Harris is yet to be charged in the Huggins case, and police are still looking for the woman's body. The New York Art Gallery has agreed to stop displaying crayon drawings by the alleged victim in the Glen Ridge sexual assault case. A lawyer for the family of the woman had asked that the pictures introduced as evidence during the trial be removed from the exhibit. A member of a women's group that had been monitoring the trial had arranged for the display. The New Jersey chapter of the National Organization for Women is vowing to go to court on behalf of a Mercer County woman faced with losing her job for wearing pants. Diane Carter declined today to talk about her case with reporters. The hairstylist at the JCPenney store at Quaker Bridge Mall says she was threatened with dismissal if she failed to adhere to a skirts-only rule for female employees. Carter has been wearing pants to work for 8 years. A Penny spokesman refused to comment on Carter's case. The dress code took effect February 1st. Coming up on NJN News, a plush new way to cross the Hudson. And in our special segment tonight, President Clinton at the State Chamber of Commerce dinner in Washington.
They're always glad to see us, and sometimes they even help us forget when we're down. There's just something about owning a pet.
It feels good.
Join veterinarian Richard Ford for an upbeat look at how we and our pets take care of each other. Healthy pets, healthy people.
Saturdays at 3:30.
It's not easy being queen. In fact, it can be a royal pain. See what I mean? Saturday night. Then it's just what I need. Another royal wedding. Fred Astaire was such a lovely man. Those were the days.
If New Jersey's congressional delegation makes tough decisions, don't hold it against them. That's the request made last night by President Bill Clinton. Clinton spoke to the 1,400 New Jerseyans attending the 55th Annual State Chamber of Commerce dinner in Washington, D.C. Larry Stupnagle reports.
People jammed through the metal detectors that were set up to provide additional security for President Clinton's speech before the 55th Annual State Chamber of Commerce dinner. Clinton made a low-key arrival. There was no hail to the chief played by the band. But the president's message was dramatic in that he promised to do what no administration has simultaneously done before.
We will attempt to increase investment and reduce the deficit at the same time. It will require an enormous amount of discipline and a willingness to try some new things and to cut some things in ways that we have not done before. I hope you will all wish us well, and I hope you will tell every member of your congressional delegation up here, without regard to party, that you know they are going to have to cast some difficult votes in order for this country to face its problems. And if they do it in good conscience and explain to you why you did it, you will not hold it against them. That's what they were hired to do, and you'll stick with them if they can do it.
Senator Bill Bradley, in his remarks, said if America is to have a future, the federal deficit must be reduced. Something Bradley said cannot be done without reducing entitlements, raising taxes, and cutting defense.
If that fact doesn't give every senator and congressman heartburn, nothing will. It'll test the civility and knowledge of our people as nothing has before. It'll be a field day for demagogues who'll try to divide group against group for narrow purposes. Still, it's got to be done.
In this largely Republican crowd, the message from Democrats Clinton and Bradley was well received.
This is probably 75% Republican crowd.
But I think something has changed in this country. I feel that people, the average John Doe, the average worker, really feels that they'll give a little bit. I think we're in like a World War II or World War I situation right now. We've got to overcome this deficit. The federal deficit has to be overcome.
In his 15-minute speech, Clinton also had words of praise for Governor Florio. Referring to the governor's tax package, Clinton said Florio made some painful decisions early in his administration, which are now showing dividends.
And I have to tell you that for all the pain that the decisions that made by Governor Florio and the legislature then caused him and them, the truth is that your house is in order now. New Jersey's going to have a balanced budget without a tax increase, and you even have a rainy day fund at a time when many states are going bankrupt.
Clinton added he hoped the federal government can also reach a consensus the same way New Jersey has.
I hope that together with the Senate and the House, with the Republicans and the Democrats in this great capital of yours, we can come to grips with our problems in ways that the American people will understand and embrace, perhaps with less political fallout, but I hope at the end with the same sort of stability and success that you have achieved with Governor Florio, and I hope you're proud of it, because I am.
The remarks were clearly a boost for Florio, who is expected to announce he will seek a second term this November. After his speech, Clinton worked the crowd, drumming up support for both his plans and the expected Florio candidacy.
The president said some very nice things about the tough decisions we've made and how it's made New Jersey a standout. I was equally appreciative of the nice comments that Senator Bradley made, saying that in a sense that the government, the federal government, has to do what New Jersey did, which was to make tough decisions, and that we're doing well as a result of that. So I was pleased.
After the dinner, there were the usual parties where attendees can mix. Despite the warm words from the president and the illegal alien problems by the Republicans' top gubernatorial contenders, the state GOP says not everyone will be jumping on the Florio bandwagon.
I don't think that Florio is invincible. I think it was not a surprise that President Clinton endorsed him tonight. It was his way of thanking him for the win in New Jersey. And I think that our candidates are going to beat Jim Florio in November, and that's what the reality of the whole thing is.
Most of last night's parties were over by midnight. Now comes the work as the president tries to sell a tough economic plan to the nation, and the state's Republicans and Democrats prepare for the election. Larry Stupnagel, NJN News, Washington.
Uncle Floyd's everywhere. NJN's Reporters Roundtable comes to you this week from the annual New Jersey gathering in Washington. Michael Aaron and colleagues held court in front of the politicians, lobbyists, and business people. The full edition of Reporters Roundtable can be seen each week, Fridays at 7:30 and Sundays at noon. And you can see edited excerpts of last night's speeches at the chamber dinner tonight at 8:30 on all NJN channels. When we come back, Campbell's succeeds down under, and another airline looking to trim its wings. Stay with us.
Critical questions, insightful answers. Today's opinion makers debate the issues that will shape the world of tomorrow. Leading Questions. Saturdays at 2, here on 13.
In tonight's Money Matters, more on today's unemployment report. The unemployment figures showing a 0.2 point drop in the U.S. and nearly a full 1 point drop in New Jersey are the last major statistics to be released before President Clinton will decide on his economic stimulus package. The Labor Department says more than 100,000 non-farm payroll jobs were created in January in the U.S. Welcome news, of course, but that is still well below the 200,000 to 300,000 normally created in the early stages of economic recovery. So the White House says today's report is not enough to persuade the president that no stimulus package is needed. A new commuter ship is plying the Hudson River. The Port Imperial Ferry has added the Henry Hudson to the fleet ferrying commuters between Hoboken and Manhattan. The newest edition seats 400 commuters and is said to be more comfortable. The company says it'll also mean more on-time service for commuters.
It'll improve the service by enabling us to run on 5-minute headways, 5-minute intervals during our rush periods in the morning. And at night we'll run tighter schedules tied to the train departures at Hoboken.
Port Imperial has 4 other vessels working the river. Last night, we told you that Campbell Soup Company had achieved control of Arnott's a day before the takeover deadline. Well, Campbell officials in Camden have announced today that they also have managed to increase control of the big Australian company on this final day to 58%. Officials say Campbell's biscuit and bakery division now has more than 50% of its sales and earnings generated outside North America. Wayne-based Grand Union Company today has announced it will sell 48 of its 51 Big Star stores in Georgia to A&P. Grand Union officials say they expect a net $20 to $25 million from the sale. American Airlines is throttling back on reports of big layoffs are going to hit American. American, which flies into and out of Newark International, however, could close hubs and sell planes. Chairman Robert Crandall says published reports that 1,000 layoffs are about to happen are false, but he says fleet changes are under consideration. 2 hubs could close, and the fleet could be cut by more than 24 aircraft. Which hubs and which routes could be affected have not been disclosed. Wall Street today extended its winning streak and reached another new high on the Dow. It's the 2nd record day in a row, and with today's finish, the Dow has closed up almost 3.5% higher in the past 3 days. Dow Jones Industrial Average ended up more than 25 points to 34.42, but losers edge gainers 10 to 9, another very heavy trading day. Profit-taking hindered the broad markets. The Amex has finished up just a point. The over-the-counter composite has closed down nearly 8 points. Some legal news tonight that could upset the stomach of a New Jersey-based antacid maker. Federal judge in Philadelphia has denied a request by Johnson & Johnson Merck Consumer Pharmaceuticals Company that advertisements by a competitor be blocked. J&J Merck makes Mylanta double-strength antacid, which is named in a comparison ad by Rhone-Poulenc Rohr, maker of extra-strength Malox Plus. Judge says he won't stop the comparison commercial. Just ahead, the weekend forecast, and in sports, weekend college hoops, including Rutgers trying to get over the last-minute blues. Gary Henry is next.
DDT. It was cheap, effective, and we loved it. Until one woman challenged the way we looked at chemicals and nature. Watch Rachel Carson's Silent Spring on The American Experience.
Monday at 9, here on 13.
Good evening. Dave Barber here in the NJN Weather Center looking at some clouds dropping on down across our area. Very cold air in Canada will spill on into our area. We'll begin to feel it tomorrow. It'll be fairly cool tonight. We'll see a couple of snow flurries with the passage of a frontal system late tonight and in the early morning hours tomorrow. The problem with the front coming through late at night means the temperatures tomorrow will actually be falling all day long. We won't really have a high temperature because our temperature in the early morning hours will be about as warm as we get. Cold, high pressure up in Canada will settle in for a very cold weekend for us. The good news, though, is that the clouds will be moving away late in the day, so some sunshine will return late in the day Saturday, and we'll see some more sunshine on Sunday as well, just some cold temperatures. Maybe a couple of flurries with the passage of the frontal system tonight. Overnight low temperatures near 20 in the north, low to mid-30s to the south, and for tomorrow, temperatures will be dropping during the daytime hours so that temperatures by late in the afternoon will be in the teens to the 20s with scattered snow showers. Kent, Steve?
Kent's off today. Thanks, Dave. A chance of snow in the winter season. Almost unheard of around here now, isn't it? Well, it's basketball.
This is WNBC for New York.